one of our relatives who was staying in Mumbai, and they had, because of the situation in Mumbai became very bad, they moved to their hometown, which is in a rural area. So there was a lot of apprehensions, fear, and a kind of turmoil among the community, that why they have now come to our place, and if they could be a potential threat to our society, our community. So all these kind of aspersions and negative thoughts are also running high, especially when there is lack of right kind of information. So therefore, there comes the role of social worker when you talk about in rural areas, how effectively we can educate and provide them the accurate information, and they don't go hearsay or through rumors or to unconfirmed sources of information and create unnecessary panic. And this can create a lot of issues in the society, in the community, and tension within the community. So whether it is a rural area or it is an urban area, the role of social worker is definitely it's there already, and it is manifold. For example, in urban areas, as I told in my presentation, tele-counseling is becoming more and more the need of the hour. We need professionals, more and more professionals who can pick up counseling through telephone. So this requires a kind of skills which we haven't taught our children in our conventional system. So this is a new area where, as an educator, as a researcher, as a practitioner, we have to ponder on this. It's not just telecounseling, it is also about care and support through what we call it as telehealth. So keeping social distancing, keeping the kind of the guidelines that we follow, still there are a lot of roles that are emerging and opportunities are coming, especially when we talk about social research. So social worker is now seriously thinking that there are areas where they can now contribute as a researcher. They can contribute on the impact of COVID, particularly in socio-economic aspects. How this impact has affected those migrant population who have moved from cities and come to their native towns. And there are a lot of issues now. Okay, what will happen once the post-COVID situation normalizes? Will all these migrant workers go back to the cities? Or there are only few who are landless people? They are left with no other source of income, they go back. Whereas some migrant population who have some land holding, they might have second thoughts. They will feel, they can think that, okay, if I have to sustain and survive, why don't I do it in my hometown with the land that I have? So different kinds of situations are going to emerge because of this post-COVID situation. So I look at it as an opportunity for social workers to take up different kinds of roles as and how the situation is unfolding. Thank you.
Sir, there is one more question.
Yeah, please.
By our one of our students.
Right.
How do social work students fit into this publication whilst on placement in this present scenario, COVID-19?
A very interesting question. And this question will be more relevant for the social work researchers also, and also for teachers for that matter. So to be very clear, there are so many online national seminars and international seminars or webinars which is happening every now and then. And I would request our students, it could be scholars, it could be graduate students, to take up certain area of study which they feel is which they can publish. As I had mentioned in my discussion, that the whole area about what is the new normal, this is a good research question. And if you could explore on this question, and if you are able to make a presentation in a webinar or in a seminar, you are going to be recognized. And when it comes to the placement, as I told, this present situation has also, it is coming up with more and more opportunities in terms of opening up of new areas. For example, this this is going to be a period for content developing. Like there is lot of push for online courses. So I would see that the future jobs or placements will be based on content writers who can develop contents, who can develop audio video programs. So with the use of various technologies, if you enable such skills, then there is no question of you being say uh, you are very much in the game. Yeah. Is there any other question?
Excuse me, sir. There is one more question. And nowadays, as we have seen that social distancing, we have to maintain social distancing. And in social work, when we are conducting field work, when we are identifying the problem, so with this social distancing, it is very difficult to identify the problem or to motivate the clients, engaging them in solving the problem. So how can we conduct this activity, or how can we identify the problem and try to solve the problem of the clients as a social students?
Right. So this is a challenge, and to some extent, this challenge has been addressed with the use of technology. I am not a person who is pushing for technology without keeping the values and essence of the conventional practice, social work practices. But in order to uh, address the present situation, as we cannot sit idle and we cannot say that because of social distancing, I cannot provide services to the client. So we have to look for some innovative practices. And that is what this period, particularly the COVID period, has given every individual to think, introspect, and innovate new methods, new ideas, new practices, which we haven't done that before. How do we connect so that we are able to provide some services to the subsistence services? I'm not saying complete services. कम से कम कुछ सर्विसेज हम प्रोवाइड कर सकते हैं, क्योंकि अभी इसमें हम एक्सपर्टीज नहीं है, क्योंकि ये हालात, ये जो सिचुएशन है, हमें यहाँ पे पुश किया हुआ है। तो सब लोग इस समस्या से जूझ रहे हैं कि कैसे फील्ड वर्क कराएं। टेक्नोलॉजी एक solution, लेकिन technology alone is not the only solution. There could be something else. That's what we have to find. Probably we have to change the way we think the fieldwork should be done. This is what we also faced as an institution offering social work program through open and distance learning. Many conventional universities questioned us. How can you do field work? How can you do field work through open and distance learning? But today, the same institutions
The question is,
technology the way forward for in such pandemic situations. So you might feel that I haven't given you a direct question, but at least I am happy that under these circumstances, one needs to think. I have not come here with all the questions, but even I am thinking on these lines how best we can teach our class to identify the problem and to provide some kind of a services to the client by maintaining social distancing. Thank you.
wonderful.
Thank you, sir. Now I would like to request to Dr. Gayatri Patnaik to sum up the session.
Thank you, sir. And thank you very much, Dr. G. Mohes, for your nice deliberation on post-COVID-19 as a new normal and its implication on social work practice in rural area. So as we know, the world is facing humanity's biggest crisis since World War II. And almost every country, every state, and every system has been affected by the devastating COVID-19. And the worst affected system is education, and we are now in an uncertain, we are living with an uncertainty, but we have to go ahead with all these things. And post COVID, especially the social work professionals, the social work students, they are facing a lot of problem, though they are trying their best to render the services, but the social practice, that is never that is not as the previous one. So the social work practice followed by us since years is not the same now. There are phenomenal changes in the pandemic has fundamentally changed the social work education, research, and social work practice. But there is a small ray of hope that we can continue social work practice in different fields, and also we can continue the education and providing the health service, as we are talking about the telemedicine, telecounseling, and other activities. So social workers, we must acknowledge that in responding to COVID-19, we have fundamentally changed the practice landscape. The social workers have an obligation to ensure access to services, and the pandemic forced us to actualize those obligations in a new way. The best ways to build community amongst organizations, agencies, employees, all areas of social life have had to embrace the new technology as a necessary to social life practice. And as Sir told while answering my question, that it is a time of introspecting, it is a time of analyzing ourselves, it is a time of finding out our own potentialities, in which manner we can render the best services to the society as the social workers, and also we the social workers are the frontline heroes. So we have to act like an hero, and we have to accept the situation as the principle of social work, that is acceptance. We have to accept the situation, and we have to develop new strategy to practice social work education, to practice social work research and education. So thank you very much, sir, for your nice deliberation. And we are also regretting for the audio failure, and sometimes the students, though it's a very vital topic for the social work practitioners, but we failed to hear you properly, sir. So thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Once again, I would like to take this opportunity to place on record our hearty thanks to Dr. G. Mohes for the nice deliberation of today's topics on post-COVID-19 as a new normal and its implication on social work practice in rural areas. Of course, we have some technical problem, but then, sir, you have delivered very nicely on this topic. So definitely it will be very useful for all of us in this COVID-19 situation, pandemic situation. So thank you once again, sir. We are really grateful to you for being with us today. Out of your busy schedule, you gave us your time and share your valuable thoughts today. Thank you once again, sir. Thank you. I also thanks to all the participants. Please stay back with us for some time, and we will welcome to the second session resource person shortly. Within 5 minutes, we'll be starting the second session. Please stay back with us. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Hello, Lisa ma'am. Is it audible? Hello. Lisa ma'am, please unmute your video. Hello.
Yes, I'm there. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Can you see also? I can't see.
Yes. You are quite busy.
Because I can't. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay.
Hello, friends. Once again, I welcome to everyone. Good afternoon to everybody. Especially, I welcome to our second session of this fourth webinar to our resource person, Lija ma'am. I will be introducing to Lija ma'am about the Lija ma'am, that Lija ma'am currently working as thematic manager, anti-human trafficking and migration in Caritas India since last 4 years. Previously, she was worked with the National Domestic Workers Movement as state coordinator in Delhi, promoting and advocating for the rights of domestic workers. She has completed her MSc in Zoology and MSW from Delhi University. We are privileged to have with us, ma'am. Once again, I congratulate you, welcome you to our webinar, to the second session. Ma'am is going to speak on migration amidst and post COVID-19. Now I request to deliver your speech on this topic, madam.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. So I think I'm audible. It's fine. Yes.
Yeah, you are audible, madam.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. I would like to thank, first of all, the center, IMS Center, for organizing this webinar on very, very important topic on migrants. And I would like to thank Professor Upendra, Dr. Gayatri, Mr. Raghunathji, and whole team of IMS and the students who are present here to listen to this webinar on migrants situation. I have a presentation, so I will put up that presentation before you on the screen so we can go through. Yeah. I think I am disabled, so I cannot present it. So maybe you can share it. Yes. Yeah. You can put it on the slide mode, so that's much better. Yeah. The topic of my presentation is today migration amidst and post COVID-19. All of you know, students and all present for this webinar, what was the situation of migrants during this COVID. The whole scenario, we can understand, the whole newspaper, the medias, all were filled with the migrants issue. When the lockdown to curtail or to to prevent the spread of the COVID-19, government came up with unprecedented measures. Whole lockdown, the world's largest lockdown happened in India on 24th March. Since then, the issue of migrants, we are listening what's happening to the migrants. They lost their job and they had nothing to eat. They had they even the food they could not afford to eat, and then they had to come on road and they had to walk miles and miles to reach back to their home village. So that's where I'm going to talk on this topic of migrants and the crisis that they have faced. And so I will focus my presentation mostly on three points. One is the basic introduction about the migration, who are these migrants, whom are we going to talk about, and the second is their challenges, and especially during the COVID-19, the challenges what they have faced, which came up. Actually, it became more visible during COVID-19. And then the third one, which I will focus, what recommendations can we suggest, or as a social work students, what can you all do to promote the rights, or to bring the challenges or the rights of these migrant workers. When we look at introduction, migration is an expanding global reality. We all of us know it's increasing. People are traveling due to globalization or due to the work, due to whatever reason. The students, we have seen many students sitting for this webinar also might be traveled to the city to study from their village. So we have all these people. It's increasing. The number of migration day to day is increasing globally and also in our country. The movement of people we can define by two things. One is that one administrative jurisdiction to another, that you have traveled from one jurisdiction to another jurisdiction. And the second thing is that the minimum period of stay. So these are the two criteria. Like if I go to visit my auntie or my uncle for a day, I'm not a migrant. So it's like a period of the stay that you are doing in particular place that you are traveling. So in India, it is taken as from one village to another. If you travel for a certain period of time, in India, it is taken 6 months. So if you are staying for 6 months or more than that, so you are considered as a migrant in that particular place that you travel. In our country, we have two types of migrants. One is that you travel from rural to urban area and you settle there, and you remain there, you settle down. Like if you come from a village in Odisha and you come to Bhubaneswar or Puri and you stay there and you become a member or permanent stay in that particular city. So that kind of migration which is there. Another one is people move from place to another and for the job, and then they return back to their places. So we are talking here on this group of people who go and come back. So like they are seasonal migrants or circular migrants who go for job work for a particular period of time, 3 to 6 months or maybe 9 months, and then they return back to their villages. Yeah, so next slide, please. Next slide. Yeah, if you look at the Indian Constitution, many MSW students must be studying also here. There's the Constitution of India. It gives a right to freedom of movement. So everyone has right to move from one place to the another. And Article 19 ensures that citizens can move freely throughout the territory of India. So we have the right for the movement. Article 16 also guarantees no birthplace based in public employment. So if I'm applying for a public employment, I should not be discriminated that I was born in UP or I was born in Bihar. public employment. So that Article 15 guards against discrimination based on place of birth, and Article 14 provides for equality before law irrespective of place of birth. So these are some of the guarantees that we have through the Indian Constitution. So if anything is going against of this, you can always file your petitions, you can claim your rights, because each one as a citizen of India, our rights are, we have this rights very much given in our constitution. Yeah, next please. When it comes to migrants, now when you look at during this whole COVID-19, what happened, I think even the government did not anticipate these large number of migrants that they are working in the cities, they have moved. So that's where the whole mechanisms or the whole government announcements that came up, somewhere it was not matching to the magnitude of the number of the migrants that we have. So when you look, so there is this whole dilemma or challenge of the data that we have. Uh, uh, when these migrants come to the cities, they are mostly like 3 to 6 months period, or sometimes even longer. They come and then they return back to their village. When there is harvesting, they return back to their village. So these are some of the things that, so census do not tell us the magnitude of seasonal migration. So when, as per the government, this one, more than 6 months, if they are staying in particular place, in their, if they have come from the village, more than 6 months, if they are away from the village, it is covered in the census. But when they are for 3 months in the place of destination, or 6 months, or they go back, so they are somehow not covered under the census of India. As per the census 2011, it speaks that we had 41 million Indian migrants who came from rural to urban areas for the work. If they are staying more than 6 months in a particular place at the destination, sometimes most of these migrants, they come, they stay at the work site. Like if you say the construction workers, mostly they stay at the work site. Some of these, those who come into the small dhabas or the small hotels, or like small factories, family based kind of small factories like bangles, or maybe the some small factories which is there, the textile factories, they mostly stay at the work site. So then again, they are not covered during these census, or so we don't have actual number of them. The National Sample Survey, NSS, also has started to bring up some data of the migrants. In 2007 and 8, we had 15.6 million migrants who stayed like 1 to 6 months, that they were covered with the NSS data. So, but there are like social workers, activists, social activists, or the activists who are working with the migrants. They say there are around 100 million migrants, especially in the place of destination, who travel and who work into different sectors. So there is also, some people estimate there are, like if you say in crores, 8 to 10 crores circular migrants, seasonal migrants, that we are going to talk here about. Among them, there are 5.5 non-agriculture seasonal migrants who come for the non-agriculture work. So it's like in the factories, they could be in the construction sites, they could be in the in any other sectors, textile factories, or the hotel, the small dhabas. So all these kind of work, manual work, or those kind of daily wages that they are there, and they are the populations who suffer to talk about them. And they work mostly 70% in the urban areas, and then we have around 30% who work in the rural areas. So yeah, please, next slide, please. If you look at this corridor, migrants, the whole corridor of this migration or the migrants that is happening in India, migrant labor crisis. So if you look at the Bihar is a whole chunk of Bihar from where people move. So it's a more distress population or the migration that is happening. One is Bihar. You have this Mushahar population from Bihar. Then we have Odisha. Odisha is one of the big chunk which sends the migrants to another cities or another metro cities to work. So that's from where the distress migrants move. Migration happens. Then we have this Telangana, another chunk of people. Mostly plumbers are coming from Odisha side, and another construction workers and lot. In Kerala, if you go, you see a lot of migrants from Odisha are working in Kerala. And they had returned back during this COVID-19. And so that's where, and then we have also Telangana, another Andhra, which is more chunk of distress migration is happening, people moving to another cities. So if you see that Delhi to Pune, Mumbai is a hub of cities, metro cities, where a lot of opportunities are there for job. So that's where the whole corridor is there. People move to those cities for the job. And then we have in south more of Tamil Nadu, Chennai, Visakhapatnam, those are the hub which employs a lot of migrants, and Kerala as well. So that's where the corridor of migrants or the migration movement that we can see. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. If you look at the problems, the informal workers, we call them also informal workers. How can you define they are informal workers? So they don't have any job contract, job security, no written contracts. Mostly they have been employed by the contractors, so they don't have any direct connection with their employers. They do not know who are their employers. So there is no social protection for them. So they are not covered under any social protection, social security. So all these are like you define as informal. And the social composition, if you look at these migrant workers, mostly they are SC or ST or mostly coming from OBC. So the big chunk of them are from SC community. Then they are also coming from Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, all these MP, they are built up from ST. So that's where we have the social composition. And if you look at what kind of work these ones are doing, so mostly if you look at the problem that they are facing is more, the work that they are doing is more of a difficult, dirty, and dangerous work that these migrants do. The challenges, if I say during the COVID, they had this, even before COVID, they had these challenges. And even during COVID, they have the same challenges. And only, I would say, it became more visible during the COVID-19. But migrants were always existing. They had been always the backbone of the city wherever they were. They did all these work, and they always faced the problem and challenges. But it was never in the discourse of the policy makers. So it was never into the limelight of the policy makers, and they never were the talk of the media. But during this COVID-19, they became more visible. Everyone started talking about them. Everyone now within 1 week, lot of the Supreme Court orders have been passed. We have listening to the orders of Supreme Court regarding migrant workers. So that's where during this COVID-19, I would say somewhere in blessing in disguise has happened, that a lot of issues of the migrants have come up. The challenges they are facing is currently or before were the identity crisis. They don't have any identity cards or in the workplace that they are having. Housing and shelter, we all of us know in what situation they live. The social protection was a big challenge that they are facing. Even before and during COVID, social protection is a challenge. Legal protection at workplace, they don't have, if anything goes wrong, if they are burnt, the factory is burnt, if they are died. So they are not covered. Sometimes who is there to take up to that legal protection, provide them the legal protection. The health and water sanitation, if you are looking at now, if you speak of COVID-19, the place that they are living in. The water and sanitation is a big challenge in the slums. Mostly they live in the slums or they live in the work site. So there is a water and sanitation is a big problem that they are facing. And so they become more vulnerable to health issues. They become more vulnerable to getting also coronavirus, which we are talking of, social distancing, the way they live it. That so how are they going to keep up the social distancing if we are talking of, and hand wash if there is no water facility available in the slums and in the work site? How are we talking of cleanliness? How are we talking of the whole problem of hand wash and other to keep them away from the pandemic? The political exclusion, that when the migrants come to the place, how are they going to, they cannot even vote at the place of destination. So when the election happens in Odisha, they have to go back if they want to vote. There is no mechanism where they can vote. They have to go back, because so they are very much excluded. They don't become the political discourse, agenda of the political discourse, because they are not a population which can be calculated by the political parties, for the vote. Limited access to informal financial services, where they cannot open their the bank accounts, because they have to show your customer, so the KYC which is there, and they have to show their identity card. So it becomes very difficult even for them to open up their bank accounts unless they have the proper identity card or identity proof for all these. So they have very less access to all financial services. Discrimination, since they come from the very social composition itself, they face a lot of discrimination in their village, and when they are in the urban areas, they also face a lot of discriminations. We all of us know, and the very fact about where the place they live in. They do not have any labor contract, as I've already spoken before, and they do not also have the direct employer contact. Yes, next please. Now I would be talking of the problem which came up during coronavirus. During the lockdown period, what has happened, we all of us know that many migrants wanted to go back to their villages. When the whole lockdown, because 2 weeks lockdown and then again extension, so many migrants felt that those who staying in the urban areas, they felt that what's going to happen, and they were also worried about their family back home. So they wanted to make their way back to home. But those facilities initially were not arranged by the government, but of course they arranged, again, Shramik trains were arranged. Then the government came up with some transport, bus transport. So those facilities were provided. Again, we know how they had to pay for that. Many migrants had to pay for that, even Shramik train, which was given by the government. Some were free, some governments said, the state governments, we will provide it. So those whole chaos, we have heard about that. It is estimated that around 1 crore migrant workers have gone back. We have the data from UP itself, 23.5 lakh workers have returned back to UP, and Bihar in the same way, around 20 lakh migrants. I'm not quite sure how much in Odisha migrant workers have returned back. So this is the estimation. And so this is from, I'm talking of both interstate and intrastate, which has made up their way back to their places. They had the government did keep the shelter home. Initially, they did not allow the migrants to return back, and they were arranged the shelter homes for them to keep up, and they also asked the employers to keep them wherever they are. So what I have heard is that Kerala did a lot of that, taken up, and they kept their employers kept the workers in their work site, and they were provided them with some facilities. The government came up, what we know, some estimated that the government took care of around 98 lakh migrants were taken care in the shelter homes. So these are with the government, and then we have the NGOs came up. So quite a lot of NGOs and CSOs came up to take care of the migrants, provide them with food, the shelter homes, and also there were also employers who took care of the the migrants at the work site. Yeah, next slide, please. Caritas India, when all these situation of the migrants came up, so I will be presenting a study, research which we did. So as a social worker, I would also suggest all of you, if you are interested and in doing your thesis or something, maybe you can also come up with some kind of research, because this is very the need of the hour. And as an organization, Caritas India took up when the whole crisis of this migrants came in front, and we came up with some research. So I will be presenting that, and it will give you also a picture of the struggles that migrants have gone through during this COVID. So what was the purpose of this study for us was to check the severity of the distress that the migrants felt while returning back to their village. So we have focused mostly on returnee migrants and the uncertainties that migrants felt to go back. And then we have also looked at to come up how it has impacted the life and livelihood of the migrants. So these were the purpose of our study. And the study basically focused on basic needs, livelihood, access to rights and entitlements, experience of harassment, discrimination while returning back to their home. So this is what we tried to study and focus, and was the focus of our study. Yeah, next slide, please. The methodology that we used was we wanted to study, take up as a sample size 500 migrants, returnee migrants, migrant workers, but we were able to cover 624 returnee migrants. We used this Kobo Collect. We collected data on Kobo Collect app. So that was more easy and very fast. It was done. The data was collected. We had 394 men migrant workers and 228 female migrant workers and 2 transgender. And then the states which were covered, we covered around 10 states, and we focused to cover from each state 50 returnee migrant workers. So Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Assam, Chhattisgarh, Telangana, Jharkhand, West Bengal, Maharashtra, and Odisha. So these were the states that we tried to cover from where mostly the migrants come. Next slide, please. The profile of the respondents, if you look at what was the profile, so we had basically unskilled laborers, that is construction workers, agriculture, porters. So mostly we came across construction workers, so they were around 340, 54%. And skilled, we calculated, we took under skilled electricians, plumber, masons, carpenters. So these were some of the, so they were like a 17% to 18%. And we also covered domestic workers. So domestic work who come to the city, so they were 0.8.2%. And we also covered like the assisting business and trades, like small working in shops, manufacturing, so etc. So that were like around 9%. And we also covered like vendors, vegetable vendors, painting, tea stalls, who had small tea stalls, and they had to close down and shut and go back. So that's where around 2%. And then other categories which we had not defined here, they were around 8%. So that is the whole composition of profile of the respondents that we had. Next slide, please. The key findings, if you look at, that's where someone, I think I just overlooked the chat. Someone wanted to know the troubles or crisis of the migrants during COVID. It speaks of their problems, if these findings, if you look at, so when you see that duration of return, how long did it take the migrants to return back to their home? So the 482 migrants, they said that it took 1 to 5 days. So it means they use some transport to return back. For some, even 101, it took 6 to 10 days. And also it took more than 20 days. So there were also people who, for them, it took more than 20 days. So it means they walked on foot, return back. So this is that how they went or they reached back to the villages. The mode of return, if you look at the mode of return journey, what transport did they use? How did they return back? So if you look at 38% said that they use public transport. So when you see that public transport, so it was they arranged their own transport to go back. So they did not use government transport, which government claims they had arranged transport for them. But when you look at immediately, people used their own, they arranged their own public transport. And then private vehicles they used, 36 of them percent used their own private vehicle to go back to this one, and even 12%, 13% around walked on foot. So this gives us the struggles and the problems, walking with the families, walking with their friends, and the distance that they are walking. So that speaks a lot, a plethora of the struggles and the problems that the migrants have faced. Yeah, next slide, please. The other, if you look at the how with whom they return back, the company during the journey, the most of them went 48% went with their friends. So they took their, it means they were working here without their family. So they were single people working, and they have returned back with their friends. So there is also a 16% so said that they have went back with their spouses, with their children, and so that's also that they took whole family. So they were living here with the family, and they have returned back with their family. So that was the journey of whom they went back. And expenditure on return travel. So we also asked how much money did you spend to go back, to know that when there was a claim that the transport was arranged for them, did they still spend their own money? So it is a very revealing factor that 22% to 23% spend more than 5,000 rupees to return back to their villages. So it's a quite number which is very revealing that the migrants spend this money. And if you look at the whole, when you talk to them, they have taken loan to go back. They have asked someone money to go back because they didn't have this much money to go back. So they arrange their own transport and spend so much of money to go back to their villages. So that is the whole, they were anxious, they wanted to go back, and they had to take even loan, ask people money because they did not have money. And this is the problem that they have faced to return back how much money they have spent. The next slide, please. If you look at the support, what they have received while going back, 47% have said they did not receive any support to go back among the 624 that we took from different 10 states. So they have said they have not received any support, but some of them say only 5% said that they received little bit monetary support from the government, and also food, 27% got some food while returning back. On the way, there were people who were distributing, the government was giving some cooked food, so they could get that food on their way back journey. And lots support they received from the NGOs or the public people who were giving food on their way back. So that's what the support that they have received, little bit, very, very minimal support with regard to only food. Yeah. Next slide, please. So now the migrants who have returned back, so it's a huge number who have returned back, and also huge number, around 3 crores must be there even in the cities. Now they have not returned back. We do not know, they must be staying, and what is their condition. We have not done any research on that, but they must be having a difficult time now when they have lost their job. So the people who have returned back, their now future is very uncertain. So 29% around have said that they do not want to go back to the villages, means the cities from where they have come back. So if you look at 31% have not yet decided. So their future is still very uncertain. They do not know what to do in the future with their livelihood. And 32% have said that they will go back to the place if the things are okay and situation is getting normal, and if they have job opportunities in the urban places, so they will return back to the work in the cities from where they have come. And the another component what we looked was the challenge of their children, the problem of the children's education. So the whole of these 46% have said that the schools children was affected so very badly. So the children who return back with them, they have lost their education, so they don't have any online facilities which other students have, but these students, the children do not have. The whole problem of the children is another component that we can look at, and how are we going to engage? Are they going again back to the villages, the school? Who will put them back to the school? Now they do not have any facility or any engaging at the school, informal or formal education. So so that's the whole future of their children education is very uncertain. We came, the livelihood of them, 95% have said that they lost their livelihood. So they don't have any means of livelihood to sustain their life. So that's a big chunk of the whole migrants who return back have lost their livelihood. And they even 10% said that they lost their family persons, their some relatives or their family members during this pandemic. What we have also seen that now the Manrega government has announced the support 1.75 crores for the migrants support. In that also job providing job, Manrega to promote, government is now trying everywhere. What we came to know also through this study, which revealed was that 6%, only the returns who have returned back, around 7% have received job under Manrega. But the lot of people who have returned, around 38% did not have any job cards. So if they do not have job cards, they cannot access to Manrega. So this is where we need, as a social worker and all of us, to promote how to make people without even job cards, they are able to access to this Manrega scheme of the government, involve them, and they are getting the livelihood opportunities to work. So that is the issue. And it is also said that many do not have this Manrega card. And also this PDS system in government has promoted. So around 30 to 40% people do not have ration cards in the villages. So how are they going to access these schemes of the government, which government has announced? Yeah, next slide, please. Now the future of these migrants is very, very tense. So if you look at the immediate support, we ask them, what do you need immediately? So 68 to 69% have said that they need that their wages, they need their livelihood, they need a wage which will provide them income. So that's where they are looking at, to provide them support in the form of work or the wage that they can get for them to survive. So that's the immediate need. They need to survive, they need to have a job. Then even the 9%, 9 to 10% have said they need food. So still food is a big issue, big challenge. Though they are getting through PDS and the NGOs, the government is providing, but still there are migrants in pockets who do not have food to eat. We are also getting calls, and some organizations are getting distress calls. People still need food to eat. So that's where we need also how to provide them the immediate need to the migrants. Around 14% have said that they need support to restart their life. That's important, that the life, they want to rebuild their life, a restart which has completely stopped or during this pandemic or during this lockdown. Next slide, please. Some of the recommendations that we have come up, and also it's good for all of you to think over these recommendations and what can we as a social workers do. So one is that food support. So we are saying government also is working, I think, on this topic, one nation, one ration card scheme. So it's wherever you are, you can access to your PDS ration card wherever you are. So I think that's important, that we need to promote this to meet the immediate need of the food. Livelihood and work, what is that? The work under Manrega should be opened immediately. I have heard in UP already people have accessed. Odisha also I have heard they are getting jobs under Manrega. Government is doing a lot on this. How can we work to promote that more and more people are getting this Manrega card and they are getting a job under Manrega? And even if there are villages, there are places where there is no job under Manrega. So how can we create those job facilities even if there is no job available under Manrega? So that's where we need also to do some kind of assessment and promoting this. Now the assessment of prior learning. Now the migrants who have returned back, they have some skills. Some are skilled, some are unskilled, some are semi-skilled. So can we do some kind of prior learning assessment? What skills they do have already. If they are a mason, they must be having this skill. If they are coming from a carpenter, they must be having this skill. So can we do some kind of prior assessment? Government can come up and do their enhancing of their skills, the skill building of these, and then linking them with some, if there is a job opportunity in the state itself, linking them to those job opportunities which is already there. And if it is not, then how can also providing safe transportation back to the cities when things are normal, and also keep in touch with the employers where they had been. So these are some of the things that we can look at. Eligibility documents, we are also saying that many do not have job cards, many do not have ration cards. So this should be fast tracked during this time. And then we are also saying financial support. Now, when everything is locked down, people have lost their job. So can a monetary a kind of financial support which government came up with through this 1.75 crores support, which they said to the migrant workers. They were provided with some old age pension, 1,000 rupees and 500 rupees to the women card holder under Jan Dhan Yojana. So can that be like 5,000 rupees each migrant worker who have lost totally their livelihood? Can they have? Is my voice breaking sometime? Hello?
No, ma'am, it's all right, madam.
Okay, I just saw that sometime my voice is breaking.
No,
And
it's
also
okay.
another thing is now we need also to look at rural regeneration, rural economy regeneration. Now the government needs also to focus on regenerating rural economy when the people have gone back. So like agriculture, how can we improve the agriculture if people are there back? How government can put up money, invest in agriculture, or the whole infrastructure of rural economy or rural development can happen. So those needs to be focused, that rural regeneration is happening. So people have more and more job in their home back where they have gone back. And also we are saying that one thing that where people were working at the destination, they were not part of the whole discussion of the urban development. Now, somewhere we are also saying that I would say that they should be part of development. The whole development discourse in the urban areas also should be, migrants should be part of it. And also we need like Manrega scheme, which is job scheme, which is there in rural areas, also needs to be there somewhere in the cities or in the urban areas as well. So these line we are suggesting. It is also time to think having job guarantee schemes like rural areas in the urban areas as well. So when during this crisis, the migrants are ensured of their job. Yeah. Yeah. Next slide, please. So this is my last slide, and I think I have taken more time also. So what we all can do, we can be agents of change. During this lockdown, also we can be agents of change as a social worker, ensuring hope to these migrants and to everyone who have lost their life, who have lost their livelihood, who have lost their everything. Being inside, how can we access or reach out to people? So the thing is, migrants have to be the part of the whole development discourse. The migrants who were nowhere part of any discourse, now they have to be part of whole social development discourse or development discourse, which is happening even in the rural areas or even in the urban areas. All of us can do, we cannot do everything. All of us, we cannot do everything, but we can do something to change someone's life. And I think this is the right time now. During this pandemic has taught us many things. I think before me, the speaker also has said, we have taken a lot of measures in the very short span of time. We have come up with new technology, how to use this webinars, organize this webinars. So we need to come up with creative ideas to engage still with the people. And as a social worker, I think that's we have to play a greater role to reach out to the people, to give hope to the people through the studies, through the research, or whatever, what support can we do. So I think this is the right time that each one of us do some action. Yeah. Thank you so much. And if there is any questions, yeah, and clarifications.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, there are some questions you can see in your chat box.
Yeah, if somebody. Government, that resource were being provided for this migrant workers from your findings, that really the case. Secondly, what level of assistance was provided for this group? So someone is talking about the government, what government provided the facilities. We all know government came up with different providing facilities to the government, to the migrant workers. One is that Shramik train was organized for the migrants to return back to their places. Buses were provided, transport was provided. Then also government came up with some schemes, announcements of the to the support, like 1.75 crores were given for the migrants to support them, especially with the PDS, the food ration, to increase that ration and also to include them pulses, cereals and all those things, and also the pension, old age pension, Jandhan under Jandhan account. So what was the schemes already existing, government tried to enhance by putting up, pumping the money to those schemes. So that's where government tried to give them some money. And so these are the some of the government provided, but the magnitude of the number of the migrants were so much, and they were so much in distress, they wanted to go back. And the whole, now when government came up with the trains, Shramik train, they had to register themselves, online registration was happening. So how the migrants could access to those facilities? So somewhere we were not also very sensitive to the needs of the migrants. For all these arrangements which was done, and discrimination happened. The migrants who came up, I have seen in Delhi, the migrants who came up to the transport to go back, they were arrested, because arrested means put up in the shelter homes, saying that you have broken the law, which was their curfew and 144 sections which was imposed, and they have broken. So these were many issues, the problems that somewhere the communication didn't reach to the migrants, and the proper communication didn't reach, and the facilities didn't reach to the migrants. Yes, I would say. Make more. Is the questions for me? Yeah, and somebody is asking need for migration reform. Yes, it's a very much a need now, that we need to reform the whole. We have one act, if you know, Interstate Migrant Migration, Interstate Migrant Workers Act. That is, I think, 1979's acts is there. That needs a lot of reformation. That needs to be looked at, more implemented on the ground, and how it is going to benefit to the migrants. That's only one act that we have in the country. So But of course, there are Contractors Act, these, that, Minimum Wages Act, so all these, then Construction Workers Act, which we have of 1995. So a lot of these acts are there, but this is the time now more to look at, come up with more focused labor laws, and which is more pro-labor laws that will benefit the migrants. Yeah. Then there is a, we were told the yeah, this I already answered. Media covered that they have, government has come up, but somewhere the accessibility part was not there. Now the government is saying 500 rupees to the Jan Dhan Yojana of the Jan, who has got this Jan Dhan Yojana, they have bank account, they will be getting 500 rupees, the women card bank account holders. But you all know, who can access to that, how the women, how the bank facilities are accessible currently to the women, how can they take that money out? So these are the challenges, accessibility part of it. We may have some schemes of the government coming up, but who is able to access those facilities currently at this challenging time? So that needs to be enhanced, that people are able to access those facilities and information. They are aware of these government schemes which has been already. So somewhere we need to create also awareness that migrants know about these facilities which has come up and they can access easily to them. Assistance, I think already I have spoken what kind of assistance was already provided to these migrants. Food was given to them, transport was arranged for them, the shelter was arranged for them by the government. Now government is coming up with the livelihood opportunities, that's a Manrega schemes has been now enhanced, which was before not so much focused. Currently government is enhancing this Manrega job schemes for them. So this is what government is coming up, but still it's not enough. So we have to do more for them. So that's where I would say, produce many psychosocial issues. Population on it, but institution will remain for longer, it can create more. Yes, I would say yes. People are losing their job, people have lost their livelihood, people are losing, even if the agriculture workers are losing their work, their agriculture livelihoods. So a lot of psychosocial issues are there with them. We know farmers committing suicide before, when they lost their job, they have taken loans. Now the migrants who have returned back, now their children are there at home. Even with the children, psychosocial issues will emerge. So we need to focus. It's a very important question and very important focus. I think if any students, if you are working in the area of psychosocial counseling or psychosocial department, I think you can take up that kind of assessment of maybe in Odisha of the some migrants, returning migrants, their psychosocial situation, and help them come up with some kind of very innovative suggestions to support them with psychosocial counseling or psychosocial support to the migrants and also to their children. So I think a lot of trauma they have gone through. When we interviewed, we came to know they have gone through a lot of traumas during this time of period. All of us have gone through some or the other, but they have gone through in a more way because of the situation. So I think it's important that we support them or focus also as psychosocial support or do something. Yeah.
Ma'am, can I ask a question to you?
Yes, sure.
Yeah, good afternoon, ma'am. And this is wonderful session that we all like, and this is very timely. Ma'am, my question is relating to informal economy.
Yeah.
Okay, how the COVID-19 lockdown in India is affecting women in the unorganized sector, and what strategies being a social worker we should take,
Yeah.
especially for the women.
Yes. Thank you so much for bringing that. And in our study, when we did, we wanted to come up specifically with gender perspective in whole of these migrants workers issue. If you look at this COVID-19 has affected a lot also women migrant workers, I would say. If you see in the cities, mostly they are migrant workers working in the domestic work. They are working with the domestic as a domestic workers. They are also working in the construction sites, and also they are involved in some of the labor or daily wage workers as the women. And also bricklaying, if you know, a lot of women with their family, they are working in the bricklaying. So it has affected them very much. One is that they have lost their livelihood, same like others. Psychologically also they have got affected, because if they are staying alone as a domestic worker in the urban areas, it also has created a lot of problems and challenges for their stay, for their, if they are staying in the, I know in my place area around, the women who are coming to work, they also facing a lot of discrimination because of this whole COVID-19. You don't come to work and you may bring the diseases. Even if they have gone back to the villages, they are also feeling discrimination. So I would say, like other migrant workers, they are also facing the same, but being women and being the whole, sometimes the family life is also burden on them to take care of the whole family. So from the family whole burden on the women, that problem of the lockdown, taking care of their whole family, their children, that problem of their children, to taking care of children when they are at home, they have lost their children are no more into going to school and they have lost their education. So taking the whole burden of the family, plus the losing of the job now, and they do not have their livelihood. So I think women are facing double than the man, I would say, during this COVID-19, the challenge or the problem that women are facing. So what can we do as a social worker? I would say, of course, currently, I don't know how much can we access to these migrant women workers to provide them support physically, but we can also come up as a social worker, some kind of assessment of these women going through the challenges, come up only totally the whole COVID-19 crisis from the gender perspective, come up with that. I think that will help very much. And also give that how many women are involved in informal economy. Somewhere we do not talk so much about this women into informal economy, but it's a huge number. I think that will help as well. And also, what can we do currently is that if they have lost job, if we can access through whatever means to get involved with them, and also create awareness that they are not that they can access if we keep a touch with them or contact with them. And so even after, when things are normal, they are getting back to their life. I think that kind of support, moral support or psychosocial support can be given as well. And also from the legal perspective, someone has even asked about legal, how can we also promote that job, Manrega thing, job security for them if they have lost and they are able to access. And also they are part of the whole policy discourse or policy framework, women as well. So you all know also domestic workers we do not have a separate labor law for domestic workers, but of course they are included in some of the minimum wages act, but they do not have a proper laws where they are included and they get a whole social protection, social protection and job security. So I think these are some of the areas that we can focus and work. Yes.
Thank you, madam. Ma'am, if I'm allowed to one more point to discuss.
Yes.
Madam, how to practice social distancing, rather we say physical distancing. Being a social worker, I don't love the word social distancing. It should be physical distancing. We have become more socially, acquainted these days. So it is physical distancing. So how to practice physical distancing in locations where accommodations may already be population dense? Especially for the migrant workers.
This is a big challenge, and we were also we had some distribution in Delhi, and we are saying when they come for distribution, we keep the social distancing, we ask them to keep. But when they go back and we know the square that they live, one small room and with 10 people living in. So it's a big challenge to practice social distance or physical distancing when they are living together. And even the slums that they have, like up, it's then the very close, all of you might have seen. So I think how can they practice? It's a big question mark, because we can ask them, you practice physical distancing, but uh, it's not possible to practice in that scenario. But only what I would suggest, it's not very feasible when we are asking for physical distancing. The only thing what they can practice is if the food facilities are provided at their doorstep and the government is taking care of their needs. So even water, when they do not have water, tap water in their home, so they come out and make a big land when tanker comes. So again, that how can be there? So there are some of the measures that government or people can take, like remaining in the house if the food facilities are provided at their doorstep. So they are remaining within their house, not so much movement happening around, like they're not coming out of slum or not taking so much of going around. So that if that is taken care, so they no need so much going out. But current facility, even water comes, so can there be a government people keep up, and then water facilities are water provided to their places? So I think then little bit practice can happen uh, uh, if there is these facilities provided to them. But for me, it's a big challenge. And I think for everyone, people living in that particular scenario, to keep that physical distancing, when you have to depend on everything outside, you are not get, like now for me, we get mostly at home. When we are there, we can order online, we get things, or water comes to our house, no need for me to go for out to water facilities. But of course, for vegetables and other things, we go out and buy things and come. But not too much. We can still remain inside. But for them, they have to. So that's where now the development of whole rural, when the government is taking place, like rural cities development is happening. So that should be planned very well. I think that's a measure for the future to be taken.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Wonderful discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Madam, two more questions on the screen. That is, how can we make our village self-sufficient to prevent large-scale migration?
Yeah, that is a good question. And as I said earlier, everyone has right to move. So we cannot say for the movement, for education, for other things. But if we are saying for the rural economy, generation of the rural economy, or we are talking of the rural self-sufficient to make. Now, I think Honorable Prime Minister also is so much talking of self-sufficiency, that we become Atmanirbhar. So when we say with the Atmanirbhar, Odisha has got, if you look at Odisha, it has got lot of textile industries, lot of like Sambalpuri, you have that cloth coming up, and a lot of Khadi Bhandar thing. And if you have any other, uh, I would say woodcraft, or the livelihood, if there is agriculture facilities in that. So can village, the pradhan, the panchayat level, then the municipality block level, can come up? What is the first we have to do the need assessment. What is the need in that particular place? What business can be done? What is the need of that? What can be enhanced? And what people have the skills? So looking at that, and what is available in the city, in that rural place. First, you have to develop the infrastructure, the roads and the facilities. I think a lot of roads infrastructure has been developed in Odisha. So those things has to be developed. And then electricity, water facilities, all those needs also. Apart from that, then for the business, small industries, the entrepreneurship. If people have this skill, this is the need locally available. Can we promote that? Can we promote those some organic farming, organic vegetables, organic this textiles, your sambalpuri, those things, handicrafts. So all these, if we need that, can we do that and promote more of small scale industries, entrepreneurship? And I think that will help to generate the rural economy and also provide the job facilities for women. Women also should be included, like through SHG. If you have a strong self-help groups in the village with the women, can we look at coming up some business plan for this SHG who can take the loan and then develop their own small business, and then we can promote that business model. So I think that's where we need to look at. And I can see another, the function of social welfare board in India. Uh, uh, it's a very important social welfare board to focus on the migrants issue, especially with the social protection issues of the migrants and everyone, I think. So social welfare board has to play a greater role. And if you can coordinate with social welfare board in the state or in the country and look at the possibility of engaging whatever now welfare schemes are coming up, and how can the social welfare board engage and look at to provide the welfare.
ये जो बनाया आपने,
हाँ,
ये तो मतलब कि उसकी तरह बनाया ना, फ्राइडे सैटरडे, मतलब देश के हिसाब से ही, लेकिन सर कुछ साइट्स तो हमारे को चेंज करनी पड़नी थी। वो जैसे कि
is it for me? Is it for me? Somebody, I don't think it's for me. ये मेरे लिए नहीं, आई थिंक क्वेश्चन कुछ आपस में बातें हो रही हैं।
Let's continue now.
It's not for you.
हाँ, तो वही बोल रहे हैं कि हमने यही कहा कि
It's
it
not
has,
for you, ma'am.
yeah, okay, thank you. It has to play a greater role, I would say. Social welfare board department, you can engage in the social and look at the possibility of what measures are there available. And you can also do some kind of assessment as social workers with the government. What are the schemes government is coming up, this welfare board has got. So if that is not there, you can also file some PILs, engage with them, and see that the measures are going to the ground for the migrants, I think. Yeah, reaching to the migrants.
Thank you, ma'am, for your beautiful question answer. Now, this is the time for some of, I would like to request Dr. Gayatri Patnaik, madam, to sum up the session.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, madam, for your timely discussion. The migration amidst and post-COVID-19, that is of the hour to discuss. And I know that the COVID-19 has changed the life of each and every individual in our society, especially the migrants. They are most affected by the COVID-19. They are they lost their job, they go their employment security, and it is also creating risk. So it's very difficult for us to stop migration 100% because they are earning their livelihood through migration. So, madam, as you know that our constitution is also providing guarantees the freedom of movement. There should not be no birthplace discrimination as per the constitution, and as per the 2011 census, as you have told, over 41 million Indians, they migrated from rural to urban areas to work in search of their livelihood. And now these migrants, they are coming back to their own place because of this COVID-19, because they lost their job there. They are not getting food to eat also. And the condition is very miserable as we have visualizing in the television. So here the social activists, they are working for the migrants to take care of them, to provide them work, but the condition is very dirty, dangerous, and diminishing as we have visualized. So they need to be, they lost their identity. They don't have any identity. Then they don't have social protection. They don't have legal protection. And also they have that the political exclusion is there. So, and also whatever they are doing, the no labor contract is there. So their job is always at risk. And we are talking about health and hygiene, drinking water. When they are not getting the drinking water, so it is very difficult that access to wash facilities. So as you know that the migration during this lockdown period, many migrants, they come back to their own place, but they are not getting job, they are not getting their community people, they are not accepting them. So they are, in this way also they are facing different types of problems. And many NGOs, civil service organization, and other and governments, they are coming forward to help them, to provide them a need, to fulfill their basic need, to provide them livelihood facilities, and to access the rights and entitlements, and to make them free from all sort of discrimination, exploitation, and harassment. And madam, the study you have conducted, that was really appreciable, and whatever findings we have seen in your study, and that is also, it is eye-opener for all the people, for all the civil servants, for all the organizations, government and non-government. So they need to be taken care of. Employment opportunities should need to be provided to them, and it is very measurable when we are taking money from the migrants when they are coming back to their to the home. So they are during their journey, they are accompanied by their friends, their families, and their condition is very miserable. So these things need to be discussed properly, and the support should be provided to them, as we know that the future is very uncertain. These people, they are in an uncertain condition, so they need to be provided all sort of support, and we all should try to do something for them, because we can be the change agents for ensuring a hope. And migrants, they should be part of the development discourse. We always we should discuss for them. We all should try to do something for them. We should create different types of opportunities, job opportunities for them, as well as we can restrict the migration, and also we can provide job to them in their own community. So thank you very much for your nice timely deliberation, madam. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Gayatri ma'am. Now, once again, I thank you to our resource person. I want to state that we are all grateful to our speaker, Lija Madam. We thank you for being with us today afternoon, ma'am. Again, I thank to our director, Professor Upendra Padhi, Dr. Gayatri Patnaik, and coordinator, our Manoranjan Ponda, for being with us. And again, I thank to all the participants, those who have participated nicely to make this webinar successful one. Thank you, everybody. Once again, I invite you for the last webinar of our series, Social Work Department series of webinar. Tomorrow, it will be the last one. So I request each one of the participants to join tomorrow also by this time. Once again, I thank you very much, madam, as well as the all participants for being with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you for inviting us.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.